Hello, fifth grade. We are ready to write a conclusion sentence for our historical person essay that we've been working so hard on. So that's what today's lesson is about. I'm going to remind you some of the key elements that are in a conclusion sentence at the fifth grade level. And we will look at some example conclusion sentences that you would find in your packet. So in fact, why don't you pull that out right now? In the packet that you took home with you last week, or the week before, we looked at the page for historical person essay example introduction sentences. Flip it over on the back, and there are the example conclusion sentences. But before we look at those, let's just recap what is the purpose of a conclusion sentence and what should be in a conclusion sentence. So let's take a look here. The first thing that we need to remember is that your conclusion sentence is important because it's a signal that your paragraph is coming to an end. Your reader needs to know this. This is the end of the paragraph. And in the conclusion sentence, you're really, in a way, just reiterating or restating the main topic of the paragraph. And in your paper, the main topic is who this person was, why they're important to our country and to our nation's history. So that's what you want to be restating or reiterating in your last sentence. Your conclusion sentence is also similar to your introduction sentence. It's not, of course, exactly the same, but you can repeat some words or phrases or synonyms for them in your conclusion sentence. But you may have learned in third grade when you first started practicing writing introduction and conclusion sentences, the little analogy or comparison to like the hamburger bun. I hope so. May not make sense, but if you haven't, but it's almost like if you think about your paper as like a hamburger. The bun, the top bun, is the introduction sentence. The meat is like the supporting details, all the sentences that include the supporting details. And the bottom bun is like it's the conclusion sentence. And all of these together make a nice, neat package, a hamburger, or in this case, a paragraph. So our bottom bun, if you want to say, is just going to be very similar to the introduction, but yet different enough. And really you want to leave your reader thinking. You want to make sure your reader walks away knowing exactly how important this person was to our nation's history. So let's look at some of the examples. Number 1. Whether hiking through forests or hunting for food, Lewis inspired millions of settlers to move to the northwestern United States after his successful journey. Okay, so that's Meriwether Lewis of the Lewis and Clark expedition. So that's a pretty good conclusion there. This is really his, I guess, greatest legacy is the fact that people didn't move out west until after this, territory was explored. So that was a big impact that his work on the expedition had on the country. Number 2, this one is about the Marquis de Lafayette, the French general. Lafayette is long dead, but his legacy lives on in the battles he won for America and for his belief of freedom. That's a really nice, very concise, well-worded conclusion sentence that really shows you how important this long-dead French general was and is even now. Number 3 is about Alexander Hamilton. All of Hamilton's political compositions greatly benefited America, and his political roles did the same. That one is pretty straightforward as well. Number 4, Daniel Boone lived a virtuous and honorable life and influenced history greatly. Simple, but effective. Number 5, Dolly Madison left a major impact on our history through all of her kindness and boldness. That's good. Conclusion sentence. And finally, this one might be my favorite. The greatly respected and honorable George Washington is described as a leader who is first in war, first in peace, first in the hearts of his countrymen. So you may notice that person used an actual quote that some historian had said about George Washington. That's a really strong way. You don't have to end your paper with a quote, but notice that this person chose that, and it makes for a very strong and effective conclusion. So you're going to have to stop and think for a while and take out a sheet of paper. Maybe actually you could just put this on the same sheet of scrap paper that you used when you were writing some of your introduction sentences. That's what we do in class, if you'll remember. So, look back at your introduction sentence. You can repeat some of those words, or you can use synonyms. You are going to be restating, in a way, a lot of what you said in your introduction, but you're going to need to think about it long and hard. So that's today's assignment. See if you can write a solid, thoughtful, descriptive conclusion sentence for your historical person essay. And when you've done that, when you feel good about it, remember we often say that the first thing that comes into our minds when we're sitting down to write is not necessarily the best thing. It may be, but a lot of times really just stopping and thinking and really evaluating your words is the best thing to do when you're writing, especially like a formal report. But once you've done that, you have finished your rough draft, and you will then need to go back and proofread your paper, make sure it has no errors in spelling, grammar, punctuation, capitalization, and so on. And then I'd like for you to email me a copy of the rough draft, and we will work again later.